Good afternoon, good evening, or good morning from wherever you are joining us from today. Welcome to a Microsoft Reactor live stream event. My name is Kaylee, and I'm the event planner for the Redmond Reactor space. Before we kick off the session, I have some housekeeping rules I'd like to run through. Please take a moment to review our code of conduct. We seek to provide a respectful environment for both our audience and presenters. We encourage engagement in the chat, but please be mindful of your commentary and please remain professional and on topic. If you would like to refer back to today's sessions, you can do so on our Reactor YouTube channel after today's live stream. This session will run for about 1 hour. Please submit your questions through the chat and we will try to answer as many as possible. Additional learning links will be added to the chat during the session. It is now time to begin the session, so I will hand it over to today's speakers.
Hello, everyone. Hi, Waldek.
Everybody.
It is
Hey,
so nice to be here in our final session. How are you feeling?
It's double-edged sword, right? Like on one hand, it's like, yes, we are at the end, but on the other hand, like I'm going to miss that, like all the excitement. We've got so much engagement, projects, questions. It's so cool to see everybody being engaged, doing hacks. And we've seen some really cool apps that's been from a console app to a cross-platform .NET MAUI app that does things like that. Is so cool.
Yeah, this is incredible. I see people helping each other, even, us without us jumping in, they help each other with their questions. And we have lots of project submissions. It is so excited to see all of these people will earn digital badges. And I'm really looking forward to have something similar in the future because the engagement level, getting to know people, it was really exciting. And today in this session as well, we want to get to know you a little better. Put it in the comments, where are you joining from, and let us know if you build any project. Let us know about your projects too, so we can get to know you a little better. So what are we doing today?
Today we will do three things. We will have a little look back at the past 2 weeks, what we have done, where we are today, and what are we going to talk about for the next hour-ish. And then basically recap and the next steps, which despite that being the last day, we have some next steps for everybody. So definitely stay tuned, listen until the end, and we will tell you more then.
Okay, so there's one more thing we want to share with you before jumping into the overall, and I think we will see in Waldek's slides a couple minutes, but we definitely want to get feedback from you, and we already put it in the chat. You can reach out to the link in the chat and we will let you more what this feedback form is and how you can fill it out. Okay, so let's get started.
Perfect. All right, so as you all know, this has been a virtual 15-day long hackathon and all about Microsoft Graph and .NET, right? We wanted to show you what the Microsoft Graph is, what can you do with that, what data you can get back, and what kind of different things you can build with that, because you've all probably seen, right? It is immense. There are so many things that you can use the Microsoft Graph to access and then build in your apps that basically by now, probably the only thing is like the sky is really the limit because Microsoft Graph is so vast. There are so many things on it, right? So over the past 2 weeks, we tried to do our best, and you be the judge how well we did our job to tell you as much as we could within the 2 weeks, while all the time leaving you, enough time for you to be able to hack. Because at the end of the day, yes, we want you to learn, but we also want you to experience it firsthand. Get, going, build code, write code, because we believe that is really the best way to learn, to build apps, to hack. Start with a simple thing and go from there, right? So with that, we are really excited to see like what you all have built over the past 2 weeks. And today we are on the last day. this isn't the end yet. So for everyone who still didn't finish the projects, there is still time. You have still time until end of the day today, US time, which means give or take, I don't know, 12 hours, maybe more. Like my time zones are always off, but there is still time. So you've got all time to submit the projects until end of day, March 15, Wednesday, the US time, right? So there is
Yes.
still time. And keep in mind, register, right? Because we need to know where to send the prize to in case you win, right? So we want to know your name. We want to know about the hacks you've built. So we would really appreciate that. But other than that, we are here to kind of recap the last 2 weeks and tell you more. How can you go on?
I want to highlight this point, Waldek. Thank you for sharing. So we've been going through the projects and adding the projects into our list, and we are trying to match your projects with your registration. Some of the people submitted incredible projects, but they didn't yet register yet. So if you don't register, unfortunately, your project is not eligible for the prizes. So make sure to register, and the form is still available. We can share the link in the chat, and then your project will be eligible for us. And if you already registered and submitted your project, you're good to go.
Exactly that, right? And you also see when that to the project you send, we attach a label named hack. If you have that thing, that means we've seen it, accepted it, you meet the bar, and you are in, right? So that is also a good sign for you to know, like, hey, have we seen your hack? We seen it on time? If you've seen that green hack badge on it, you're good to go.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, oh yeah, we've got comments about like which time zone in the US exactly, because there are 4 apparently. Where the most Western one. We want to basically give you as much time as we can to keep it fair to everyone. So if you are in Hawaii, Alaska, like all the way to the west, from our side, like use all the time you have. Be sure that tomorrow when we look at the hacks, your hack is in. So I hope that is kind of that helps clarifying. Like, the time zones are hard. Like for me, I will take a regex or DNS anytime over a time zone. So
Me too. Yeah, I totally agree with that.
All right, cool. We talked about feedback already, and we learned from you so much over the last 2 weeks. Like we learned about where we could even improve the SDKs, right? So we did that already. We shipped we shipped, in fact, a new version of the Microsoft Graph.net SDK based on the hack that you did, right? So we have a new version of the SDK in the past 2 weeks. So this is really cool. But what else is it that we want to learn, Ayça?
Yeah, so your feedback is really important for us. The reason behind it is that we want to hear from you. How was your experience about Hack Together? How we can improve Hack Together format as an event and make it more valuable to you all. As well as we want to hear from you which parts are the parts that you struggle the most in terms of technology, in terms of maybe getting the information from us. Everything about Hack Together in the past 15 days. We want to hear from you. What was your experience, the most challenging parts, and so on. And this is going to be a very short survey. We just want to see what's going to be the upcoming desire from you, and probably take into really serious consideration for our upcoming events and conferences as well. So don't forget to fill out this form. This will definitely help us initiate something new thanks to your feedback.
Definitely. And we have the link in the repo too. So don't worry about like taking images, pictures, noting it down. We have the link there. So like whenever you have time, please take some time. And again, it will be just a minute or two, right? So it won't take that much time, but for us, it will be really invaluable. So please, if you can, spend these 2 minutes, and yeah, we would really appreciate that. There's
There's
question.
one question.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Go on. Go on.
So I think we're looking at the same question. So one person's asking, I registered as an individual, but I ended up submitting the project with a team. Would that be okay? Can I register again as a team? And how about the teammates?
All right. So you register, everybody on the team registers as a person by themselves. When you submit a project, the only thing you have to do is to list in there who worked on it. So so everybody on the team registered personally, right, with their name, GitHub, email, and so forth and so on. But then in the project, in there you list names of everybody who worked on it. Okay.
Yes, and one person is asking the registration link. We will put it in the chat, but it's ak.ms/hacktogether/register. You can also find that link in our repo, but we are also putting in the chat right now. So you make sure to register before moving any further.
Exactly. And why? Because we have cool prizes to give away, right? We talked about it already a lot, and maybe this is the first time you see us. So let's have another look at what is it that you can win other than eternal fame, right? Because everybody will know you forever because you won this hack, right? But as a winner or the winning team, because again, you can enter the hackathon by yourself or as a team. And with a team, we mean a team up to 4. So if you win as a team or up to 4, you will get Xbox. In fact, everyone on the team up to 4 people will get 4 Xboxes if you enter as a team of 4 and win. And then everyone on a team will also get a $200 gift card, $100 Azure credits, and digital badge. And we also have prizes for second prize, third prize. So it's definitely, we think at least, worth the effort and your time to enter, because if anything else, you learned something cool. You learned something that you can use in your work, at school. You learn new skill. On top, you make a chance to win something really cool. So we think that it's definitely worth the effort.
One more question in the chat, Waldek. I submitted the repo, but I didn't include video. Is that a problem?
No, it is not. So a video is an extra for us to make it easier to show your awesome work to everybody internally at Microsoft and in the open too. But it's not prerequisite. So a video is just an extra thing for us to make it easier to show your awesome work. If you want to help us, awesome. If you don't, if you are, I don't know, you are shy, you don't want to be on camera, you don't have the right equipment, perfectly fine. It doesn't need to be a fancy thing. You don't need to record even voice. You can just, screenshot, like go through your app, click around, show it work. Anything works. Like there is no prerequisites. It's just an extra step that helps us to show your awesome work to everybody.
Final question, and then we can jump into the real exciting part. For the badge, do I need my Credly account?
You will need one eventually, but the way it works is that we have, like, if you enter Hackathon, we will get your email from you. To that email, we will send email that you are now eligible for a badge, and to claim that badge, you will get another email with a link to create the right account in Credly, and with that, you will be able to claim the badge, right? So you don't need one upfront, but you will need one eventually.
Awesome. So let's jump right in the exciting part.
With that, as we said, right, this is the end of the hackathon. This is the last day, but it doesn't need to be the end for all of you. And actually, it isn't even the last day for us because we are a part of community too. So with that, we would like to welcome our guests who are a part of community and who are here to work with you and help you all. Hey, folks.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, everyone.
How's everyone doing today?
Yeah, exactly. How are you, folks? Not everybody at once. Fabian, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. I'm really excited to be here. Of course, if we're talking about Microsoft Graph and hacking, my ear's going to perk up. And if we're talking about community, because one of the passions that I have here at Microsoft too is working with the communities, I'm really excited. So really happy to be here.
Cool. So with that, now that we have you already, how about we start with a few words about you?
Sure.
Who you are, what you do, who have you been in the past? Because you've been also an MVP, so I learned.
I know. In fact, I don't know if you can probably see it behind me, but I still have, my MVP award there. So I was a 7-time MVP, and actually, I still think I hold this record. I think I still am the only MVP to have 3 award categories. So I had SharePoint at the time. It was SharePoint. I had Visual Studio, and during the acquisition, I also had Xamarin and Azure. Actually, I had 4. So I had a ton of different award categories, but this just shows that you can move across the swath of the entire community tech stack. And as long as you're doing excellence and really giving work, you'll be recognized for it. But now, I'm now in the MVP Reconnect program because I'm now a full-time employee at Microsoft. So I had to hang up the MVP robe and put on a new robe now, at Microsoft. At Microsoft, I am a senior product manager on the Microsoft Graph Community and Partner Experiences team. But in the community role, I'm also the PG lead for Microsoft Graph.
Cool. Well, and you brought together with you some friends. So who do we have?
Hi, everybody. I'm Agnes from the Netherlands, and I've been an MVP for 15 years. So that's a long time. No, I am old. That means I am old. But at the same time, that also means that I've been part of this amazing community, and this is the best part of being an MVP, really just having, just you will see that we have a lot of fun together, even if it's just online. So I am a Microsoft RD, Microsoft MVP. I run a small consulting company called Search Explained. As you can imagine, the primary topic and the primary area we do is search, mostly on Microsoft technologies. I have 3 children. I love travel. I love meeting new people, eating all kinds of different foods and visiting new places and everything. And just having fun and being part of the community.
Awesome.
Excellent. And we also have with us Adam.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. My name is Adam. So I'm like a freelancer working usually as a .NET developer or Microsoft 365 consultant for quite some long time now. I've been working at Hitachi Energy. So besides work, I'm a father of a really awesome kid. I'm one of the CLI for Microsoft 365 maintainers. I'm quite recent became an MVP from the M365 development area, so which is quite cool. I'm MVP for 1 month. Does it mean that I'm young? I hope so. We'll see. I'm also had the privilege to join quite recently. I mean, it was announced like today morning or yesterday. The PMP core team, which is the people that are organizing the life around the Microsoft 365 community and Power Platform community, which for me is like totally awesome because those are really awesome people that were a huge inspiration and still are for me. I'm based in Poland. I love to code. I rather express myself with coding as a typical developer, but I really like open source and especially have a lot of fun when I'm creating some solutions that help other developers to succeed. So VS Code is one of those areas I really like to contribute to, contributing to already existing extensions or creating new one and stuff like that. Yeah, I think that's all.
Amazing. And I'm really excited for this part of the conversation because every time when I join hackathons or conferences, I always look for people I work together and people I chatted during the hackathon. And I'm looking for ways to continue connecting with them. So let's have a little bit of chat, how we can get a part of the community and what community does during these days and learn from your experience about the community as well. So removing the slides,
exactly.
Let's start the chat.
Yeah, so when Waldek, you Ayça and Waldek approached me and said that you'd like to have a session, or a talk around the community, I was really excited, and I thought a little bit long and hard in terms of who would I want to have represent, and talk to as well. And there's a couple of things that come to mind. One, I said, okay, I have to find somebody that's been doing this for ages. Like Agnes said, she's a veteran. In code terms, she's legacy MVP, right? I am
No such thing. No such thing.
And there's like
No search.
I'm 7 years. She's 2x mine, or a little more than 2x mine in terms of MVP. So she brings a wealth of experience, and I've known her for a long, long, long time. As Adam mentioned, he's a new MVP. In fact, I had to wait for him to sign his NDA so I could actually, reach out to him and say, "Hey, dude, we're doing this stuff. Would you like to?" Exactly. Yeah. I was literally on him every day, dude. Sign your NDA. But he did, and I wanted to have that as well because I wanted to show, both sides. Somebody who's been doing this for a long time. Myself, someone in the middle, and then somebody who's brand new into this sphere, and just get to know them a little bit better, and have everyone get to know them a little bit better, because each person's journey is going to be a little bit different, even though we're part of this great community that separates itself a lot from almost any other technical community that I know. It is the most, it's the closest knit community I've ever been in as a technical community ever before. So I'll tell you what, why don't we start this way? Agnes, and to Adam as well, can you tell us how you got started in the community?
Yes, absolutely. So many years ago, 15 plus years ago, yes, I used to work as a developer. And I was involved into a project where we needed to do a proof of concept with connecting SharePoint and Exchange in a rich client application. And since it was a proof of concept and SharePoint was new, actually we used the search APIs for SharePoint 2001. So that's an interesting history. At that time, funny thing, since I was a developer and I had to work on this rich client application, I had no idea that SharePoint was an application itself. So I just only worked with its APIs, and I had no idea it also had a user interface first. So anyway, it was funny. No, it was funny during my next project when I needed to do something, with the document management on top of SharePoint. And I was like, okay, shall we write a new application on the same API package? And they were like, no. So anyway, this is how I started. And yes, back to your question. During that first project, it was also supported by Microsoft because we needed a lot of knowledge. And actually, we did a lot of knowledge exchange with Microsoft. So Microsoft involved me into more and more events. I started to speak at local events, that time back in Hungary. And then eventually Microsoft nominated me to be an MVP. So I became an MVP. And in a similar way that you waited for Adam to sign the NDA, I did the same thing, because those days I became an MVP on the 1st of April, and the MVP summit was from the 11th of April. So I had 10 days to do everything, and I was there. So I've got my visa, because those days I needed a visa to be able to enter the US. Mm-hmm. So I got my visa, I got my flight tickets, I got booked everything, and I was there. So that's how I started. And of course, at the MVP Summit, I met a lot of amazing guys and who were just superheroes and, SharePoint gods for me. And yeah, but actually those days I had to realize that they are also human beings, which was fun.
And you mentioned you became an MVP on April 1. How long did it take for you?
Is this a joke?
It's not a joke.
This is a prank.
Well, every year, I was like, first of all, okay, am I renewed? And then I got the email, and I was like, I cannot believe
it's a prank.
It's a prank.
Yeah, it must be. Yes. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Agnes. Yeah, you're right about, meeting, the people that you've always seen before in the community, or at least in that technology space. And then, now you become a peer and a colleague with them. And it's really, it's really uplifting. And on that note, Adam, you want to share us with your experiences? How did you get started in the community?
Yeah, I guess it was a bit similar, but it just started yesterday. It started also a long time ago. And also, of course, as a developer, since I am a developer even now, and I want to stay this way. So actually, my like own engagement in the community was because of my really eager to learn and to get more knowledge. And it all started with a quite negative experience on a job interview that didn't go quite well. It was back in the days when SharePoint 2016 was introduced and all the modern experience together with it, and was also the modern experience that was supposed to also come. And back in those days, everyone wanted an intranet based on SharePoint 2013 and migrate from 2010 to 2013. So I was all about developing in this area, like, the sandbox, feature model, add-ins. That was awesome. I really like these technologies, but it's good that they're in the past. And now at the time I had like 3 open contracts at the same time. So I was really full of work. And then I just had another job interview for another contract, and it didn't go well. And I was like a bit depressed at how little I had to offer about the things that are going to come. And I managed to transfer this negative outcome to like a kick in the butt that, okay, instead of taking another contract and working again and again, and maybe repeating the same year every year, the same kind of development, I should rather sit down and do some really good self-learning. So I used search, but I think I didn't use the same search as you, Agnes. I just typically type, okay, that's it. And I found a lot of amazing materials. And basically, I started learning from the community, because most of the materials I found, like blog posts, solutions, open source, was done by the community. And then when I wanted to do a bit of a deeper dive in some tech, then I checked the docs, the MS docs and so on. But it started with Ignite, from someone's community blog. And for me, coming from like SharePoint 2010, 2013 on-prem to like a SharePoint Office 365 open source was like, whoa, that's a change, right? It's something new. And I immediately loved it. I started participating in almost everything I could regarding the community calls, and there were many, many things I could really leverage, a lot of good education from. So shortly after, for example, the PMP Weekly show started, I think, back in the days, it was SharePoint Dev Weekly. And at the beginning, even you didn't have like guests, you had only just reviewing the articles. For a folk like me, it was awesome, because I just wanted a broad spectrum of what's going on, what's going on in this area. And then when I was really interested in something, then I read the article, go deeper, and of course already tried to integrate it as a developer in some solution. Because if I learn something, the best way, if you learn something, is then when you try to use it and create something based on it. So the first tech I actually used, because I could, was the PMP PowerShell. Back then, it was, of course, SharePoint PMP PowerShell, and there was a 2014 version. So from a folk like me that could transfer from the SharePoint on-prem management PowerShell to the PMP PowerShell 2014, it was just a natural transfer to do. Oh. And still, back in those days, PowerShell was like only Windows, right?
Yeah.
And then shortly after, on one of the community calls, I stumbled upon, someone did a presentation about the CLI for, back then it was Office 365. And I was like, yeah, like you could do it on Linux and Mac, or like, you can get more open than that. And then later on, in a couple of years, I even managed to run it on an Android phone. So it was like a Doom game for me. It can run everywhere, right? And so for me, it was really like, I really wanted to check it out, how it's built, from a guy from the .NET really area. How does it work? And it turned out it was all written in JavaScript and TypeScript. For me, back in those days, TypeScript was quite new. So I guess JavaScript is everywhere now, right? And I just wanted to naturally contribute to this project first, just by trying to create a solution based on it. So creating a script that does something, uses this tech. And to be honest, the first attempt didn't go well. I managed to do like 90% of my requirements.
Yeah.
And I contributed it already back. So I created a sample that did create like a setup site, example site for your development work. And I thought, okay, maybe it will help anyone else. I don't know. Maybe the maintainers say, "Hey, dude, this is too easy. We won't take it. just leave it." And then I say, "Wait, I just open a PR. We'll see what happens." Yeah. And all the welcoming I get, I was just so amazed with it that I got immediately psyched and like even addicted a bit.
Yeah.
And then it just moved on. Just this learning cycle and contributing back is just a natural thing for me, and I love it.
That's awesome. Listen, thank you for sharing it. It's a great arc to the story in terms of how you went from, a consultant doing work, and then, your own self-learning, which is part of the community as well, which is, your own personal development and your personal brand, and then doing stuff for the community and then being recognized on that. Before we go too far, I want to, encourage everyone on that's listening to this on YouTube as well. Ask your questions in the chat so that we can get them as well. I want to involve you as a part of this journey. If you have any questions, I saw a few people already mention that it's great to see some familiar faces. Glad that that's here for us. So ask us a ton of questions. But even before we leave both Agnes and Adam, who we invited as guests, I'm really interested in hearing from Ayça and from Waldek. How did you guys get your start in the community as well?
Waldek, would you like to go? Should
No,
I
go.
go first?
Not prepared. Not prepared.
You go first, Ayça.
My experience is pretty different than the folks in this live session, because everyone here had MEP experience, which is for professionals who work with Microsoft technologies. But I have different experience as a student. Microsoft has also a program for students, and I was a part of it 10 years ago. I was a student partner. Now they're called a student ambassador. I was back in the days based in Turkey, where I'm from. And as a student studying engineering, I joined the Student Ambassadors Program, and the level of diversity, level of engagement, and also I got a chance to meet with different students from not even different universities in Turkey, but students across the world, across the globe. And we got a chance to connect and build projects together. We got mentorship from MVPs, and the level of engagement and the things you learn as a student, other than what school teaches you, such as making a presentation, how to build a project, how to start building something on GitHub, and so on. These stuff, obviously, when I was studying engineering, was not a part of my life. And when I joined the community, it was totally different experience. And I started seeing a little more how business, real enterprise work, and what they expect in real life, other than the engineering style. I'm assuming it might be different these days from 10 years ago. But my experience started as student partner. And after that, I got an opportunity as an intern at Microsoft. And right after that, I joined at Microsoft as a premier field engineer. And I work in the field for a couple years with customers. And after that, I joined the advocacy. And now I got a chance to work with MEPs and student ambassadors across the globe, which I feel like I am lucky, because not everyone working at Microsoft have the same opportunity. Since we are working in the advocacy team, it is so exciting to see MEPs, student ambassadors joining from everyone. And if you're interested in learning more, feel free to ask questions about MEP program, MSP program. We can, deep dive, and we can talk about all these programs for hours, I guess, with all these folks in the live stream.
That was one of the things I said. I said, oh, they're only going to give us a half an hour. Oh my gosh, well, we're going to squeeze all of that in there. But that's an amazing story, Ayça. Taking it from the student into the professional realm, you're right. A lot of things that you learn in college, it is to prepare you for that work. But once you get into work, they establish norms, they establish ways of doing stuff. And, it's not actually take everything you learn and throw it away, but here's how you augment it to really make that impact. So, that's fantastic. Waldek.
Yeah. Oh,
finally.
Yeah, I recall. I think that was in 2005. I had internship at a company, and my project was to build a content migration tool based on SSIS. Mm-hmm. So the SQL Server 2006, I think back then. Yeah. So basically extract content
ETL,
from one CMS, move to other. Yeah, ETL, exactly. And I've done all of that. And I think I was done before like 2 weeks ahead of time, or 3. So in other words, like I was done with my assignment and I had time off. And they was like, okay, like you are here anyway, we're paying for you. How about you look at this thing? And they gave me an external disk with a VM on it. And back then, my background was PHP.
Mhm.
I did before that Delphi, Pascal. Like I never touched anything .NET and C#, ASP.NET, never at all, right? And like my experience was Apache, where if you open a folder, like there are the files, like that is your site. And
Mhm.
here I got this VHD, and that was in virtual PC with IIS. And I can open a site. It was MOS 2007. And there was this site, and I went to IIS, like it's empty. Like, where are the files going? Like, where is that thing living? Like, that was my first experience with SharePoint, right? Like, where are the files? Like, where is this coming from? I can see it in browser, but where is that thing? Like, the folder is empty, you know? And basically, back then, like, I rolled into, like, did a course in Belgium with U2U, learn everything about SharePoint. And basically, for a long time, I would build internet sites. I think I haven't built a SharePoint intranet for only after like 6 years or 7 years. Seriously, it took me that long really to get my first intranet, because all of the work that I've done first was really internet sites, right? Yeah. And that was back in the days where documentation basically would be limited to a few books that we had and few blogs. So I was and like back then, you also had all of the code. Like cloud wasn't really a thing.
I know.
Right? So
books, what a concept.
Right, exactly. Like cloud, like no way, right? So the only way to really know how things really work well was to look in the code, like reflector it and see like what's going on exactly. And every single time we would be stuck, we would do exactly that. And then you would do what? Well, blog, share what you found to help others. And basically that led to me becoming an MVP. I don't know if that was 2007 or 2008 already. And I got my email on New Year's Day. I was like, no way, that's a prank. Like somebody's pulling my leg. Like that cannot be true. But then like I was able to authenticate, to log in to the MVP. So I was like, this is true. No way. How cool is that? Right. And back then, like I would have exactly the same experience as you, Agnes. Like being amongst the, like folks, who you looked up to, like, oh my God, now I am one of them. Like, how cool is that? So like, and basically that was 14, 15 years ago, I think, because I was MVP for 12 years.
Wow.
And then I joined. So again, I took my MVP row, put in a code,
and put the other robe on.
Exactly, NRK. Yeah. So
wow, listen, such interesting stories and such diverse backgrounds, especially from where we come from. I really appreciate it. So as this is a hackathon, I want to also have a couple of themes here. So and we did talk about how we enter into the community, which in large part starts off either with a project or in our case, from education into learning. But what's your approach to skilling? And I'll give you some time to think about it as I explain mine and explain the question. So what I mean by skilling is, how do you learn, especially learning either, as you mentioned, I think you said learning through the community as well. I think Adam mentioned that as well, the same thing as well too. And for me, I'm a visual learner, so I was glad when I could move from books to videos. That was like a really, really game changer for me, because I can watch it, pause it, do it over here, and then come back and then see it work, and even tweak it, so I can actually put my own life into it and bend it to my samples. But for a long time, it was like I said, I used to use Reflector and look at the DLLs and figure out how things are being done, and then from that, come up with stuff. In fact, my claim to fame for my MVP was that I was the BCS guy, Business Connectivity Services guy, for a long time, because there was zero docs on that, or zero docs. And I wrote a ton of blog posts on it, to the point where the MCM instructor, Microsoft Certified Master instructor, called me and said, hey, can I use your blog to create some material for this course? I said, go right ahead. But so the skilling for me was a mixture, a hodgepodge of either delving into the DLL, figuring out how stuff works, putting some blog out there and having people critique it and do stuff, which forces me to learn, because if I'm going to blog it, I need to learn it. And then videos came along, and then I started to go to GitHub and put my stuff out there again. But for me, it evolved. It was interesting when Agnes mentioned as well too how she started, and then listen to Adam. And Adam is doing a lot of stuff virtually, and and videos and attending calls. And when Agnes and I were starting out and stuff like that, probably you as well, Waldek, like he said, it was books and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
quite the journey. Agnes, how do you handle skilling?
Well, I'm a reader, so I prefer written things and not video things. I'm visual in a meaning that, yeah, it's good to experience things, but I learn by reading much faster. So one example, when I go to a conference and I visit sessions, yes, I learn things there, but mostly I use those sessions to brainstorming and to expand my, not really my skills, but my horizon. So I really like to attend sessions which are not into my area, which are not about search, which are not about information architecture or knowledge management or whatever I do. So this is why I like to visit, I don't know, sessions about security, for example, or sessions.
SPFX.
Exactly. So those kind of things which I don't do, I'm not intended to do, but just good to know about, or good to know, hey, SPFX, this is something that I can ask him about, or if I get a question about, okay, how to create adaptive cards, I know who to ask or who to refer to. But also it's good to know what's going on around it, because this world of, the cloud, Microsoft 365, Azure, and everything, this is a huge world. You cannot know everything.
Yeah.
But if you know not everything, but you try to know everybody, that's a cool thing. But yeah, I'm a reader, so I prefer written things. And then you can also copy paste codes if you are a developer.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, learn by doing. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Adam, how about you? How do you approach skilling?
Yeah, to be honest, pretty much the same. I also love reading materials. The fact that you can scan over the whole blog and just look like doing scanning of the text. What's the part that's really interesting about for you to read? This is how I go about it. Okay, I also used to, or still a bit, check out the YouTube movies, but usually it's 1.3, 1.5 of the speed to catch up, just to see what's going on.
Yeah.
So sorry, Waldek, the PFP weeklies are also sometimes
1.5 speed.
1.2 the speed. Yeah, that's it. But I rather reading just because of the scanning, so you get the broad what's going on in this article and what's going on. But I also recommend participating in the community calls, and also like our community is really all around Microsoft 365, and it's a huge beast. And also you cannot do really hardcore and really great development on Microsoft 365 if you don't touch Azure at all. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to do and leverage some services, and this is a huge beast. So keeping up on all of this is like, and I wouldn't recommend going in every detail of every service. Like, okay, this is this service on Azure. Okay, go through the docs. I read. Now I go this service. No, don't do it. Yeah, just take the things on your plate that you are really interested in, and do your part and your share and contribute, or just learn and try it out in this thing. But be like like a t-shirt, so you just go one topic really deep, and all the things around, just broad activities to know what's going on. So for example, I totally don't know what's going on. I try to keep up, but I don't know squat about Power Platform and how to do cool ops. I just know the beginner, this is a flow. Okay, you change a file in SharePoint and you get an email, right? It works. And then I see all the awesome stuff all the contributors do on the Power Platform on the community calls. And I'm like, oh man, I didn't know you could do all of those stuff. It's awesome, right? And it just goes on, and it's really hard to keep up. So just pick your thing, pick your target, try to be the best at this one. Sooner or later, you're gonna catch up, and then you can just expand to more things. And even if you want to really be good at one of those technologies, sooner or later, you're gonna have to try to expand. So I want to integrate SPFX with Power Platform. I want to take some Azure servers to help me in my development and stuff like that. Reading again.
That's fantastic, because I think both you and Agnes touched on something as well too. And for me as well, and I guess I should mention it here in just one concise sentence. You don't have to know everything. And as Agnes said, you just don't have to know everyone. You really need to know the right people, right? So for me, joining the community, what it gave me was just access to the people that are top of their game. And I'll name drop a person right here. I remember one time I was stuck on an ad, because I'm a dev. I was stuck on an admin piece of configuration for the SSP, the service providers that were part of MOS 2007. And I literally DM'd Todd Clint, and we had a shared session where Todd joined and I was there, and we're working through stuff. And he's not the only person. I've done the same thing with Thorsten Hans. I've done the same thing with a bunch of different people. And then the same reciprocity. People call me up and say, hey, I'm stuck on this workflow. And boom, it's that way. You don't need to be an expert at everything. Own your own space, as you mentioned before. Find the right people that are top of their game. Talking about top of their game, Waldek, how do you handle skilling?
So that is an interesting point, because like forever I thought, you know what, I love to read. Like videos are not my thing. Until that one day. I wanted to do something around the house. Like I wanted to rewire a socket. And for that, I would go and use a video. Why? Because that's something that I don't know at all. So I wanted to see things like which wires go where. It's so much easier to see how things are being done as opposed to following an article or reading up a manual that explains like step by step. No, the red wire has to go into this plug. It's like just like you can see it, and it's so much easier to follow. And then I realized, yes, I learned like for tech stuff, because I already know a lot. It's so much easier for me to skim through the things that I know and just deep dive into things that I don't. Mm-hmm. But if it's a brand new thing, a topic about which I don't know anything at all, it's so much easier for me to see it being done. Like anything, around the house, construction, remodeling, you name it. Like the other day, I admit, I spent my first time ever watching 2.5 hour video on YouTube about something, about a topic, right? And there was like,
I hope 2x. I hope you watch it in 2x.
So that was actually 1.2 speed, but still, like I was really interested in the topic, and if it was a book, I'd read it, but just the person had a video. It's like okay, but the thing was that it was a brand new thing, so there was no point for me to skim through parts, because I didn't know anything about it. So I wanted to basically sit through it and learn the whole thing. And at that stage, like if it's a book or an article, well, irrelevant, because I can just, I still need to go through all of it. So yes, I realized that it depends, right? And that becomes, that is kind of the joke that we make in our work, right? That like no matter what you answer, it depends always. Like there is no one answer to everything. And that becomes just yet another example that it depends. Like I read a lot, but at times I will go back to watch a video that is also perfectly fine, right? And it only makes it clear that the audience learn in different ways. And when you create content, you need to be aware of that there are different folks who learn in different way. And ideally, we want to accommodate everyone, right? And that is actually why you will see us create videos and have docs and blog posts and samples and do live streams, because again, everybody learns differently, and it's perfectly fine.
Exactly. It's a great way to dovetail into where I was going to talk about before I asked Ayça about how does she manage skilling as well. To the folks that are joining, that may have joined after we started, what we're talking about here is that basically the community, and the community is certainly part of the hackathon experience. As Waldek mentioned, you could be doing this individually, you could be doing this as a team. Your team could be distributed. It could be a team of just community members coming up with something really cool. But what we're trying to discuss here, at least make people aware of, is that the larger, even after today ends, there's a larger community that remains, even here at Microsoft, with the dev advocates like Ayça and Waldek, and myself on the CPX team, the MVPs and RDs like Agnes and Adam that are there for you. I mean, that in Adam's case, he's a contributor to a lot of these open source stuff. So when you have open up issues, or if you have these issues, he's the guy that's going to be responding back to you. So it's all about right now we're talking about skilling. How do we learn? And a large part of it is part of the hackathon experience here today, as well as utilizing resources from GitHub, which is, I know all of these stuff that Ayça and Waldek do. There's a GitHub repo for it, or there's a video for it as well. But Ayça, back to you. How do you handle skilling?
Okay, so I will answer that, but I also want to hear from our audience. How do they learn? What is their type of skilling? So if you can put it in the chat, we can take a what is the type of learning style you prefer. For me, I was always a hands-on learner. Since I knew myself, I always had an issue with learning by only reading. I always had trouble in the theory part. For me, hands-on part comes before the reading part. I always have to try first, and when I am stuck, then I start searching and finding the documentation and finding the manuals. And it's same for the IKEA products for me. I start building and then
build, there's like, oh my God, it doesn't work.
yeah, my friends and family, they get angry because things go wrong, and then we rewire everything, and then we start rebuilding by just reading the manual. For me, it is always the forking the GitHub repo sample, or maybe trying the new products such as Power Platform, for example. I never did a low code before. I was a .NET developer starting, and then I started building some stuff with JavaScript. But for the first time when I tried Power Platform, I just went log in and try to build something from scratch by myself until I get stuck. I went through the entire thing, and then in one point I couldn't do something and just started searching about the documentation and searching, and basically after that part, consuming the content. For me, the type of the content doesn't matter much. If I find the information in the official documentation, or if I find the same information on YouTube, or maybe Stack Overflow, both of them are fine with me. Right. But I first need to try first and understand what is this about in the first place. And then I start going through the documentation, videos, any type of learning material. I think I'm the other way around in terms of learning. And I don't really recommend it too much.
Well, like I said, I think everyone has their own style. That's the beauty of it. We approach these things differently. Looking at some of the chats and threads, you can see. I love this one from, where is that right here? It was a formula. There it is from Benedict that says watching plus reading plus doing is equal to success. That's amazing. I love that formula. And as a developer, that sinks right in. A lot of folks mention, watching and trying things, hands-on learner. I think the diversity that we have here, even amongst us as just panelists talking, is reflected in the audience as well. Again, as we talked about what GitHub provides. Tell you what, so we only have like around a few minutes left. I knew we were going to get through time. Let me ask you this: I want to figure out how you guys contribute and give back, because I think a lot of it is, the reason why the community exists and is so vibrant is because we give back. You'll find me at conferences, sitting, chatting, doing sessions and stuff like that. I've seen a ton of you guys at conferences as well. Or in the case of Ayça, I've seen a bunch of your videos even before I joined Microsoft. And I think a lot of my skilling came from that as well, too, because I love videos. So I'd be interested in finding out, and I'll start with you this time, Ayça. Well, no, that's not true, because I know how you do yours, because you put it in GitHub.
It's all over the place.
Yeah, I'm going to start with Adam this time. I want to find out, how do you contribute, back into the community besides the stuff that you're doing, or talk a little bit more about the stuff that you're doing as a contributor to PNP.
Sure. So, of course, as a contributor, as a developer, I love to contribute back with code and with existing solutions. So I try to introduce my own solutions or contribute to already existing solutions, and in many ways. And I think one of the easiest ways to get started, and I think it's the best contribution you can actually do, is contributing samples. I really like this kind of contribution. We have a awesome, for example, for every kind of technology, for the web parts, for the extension, for the Power Platform, for the script samples. I love how it expands on, and people are contributing, folks, all the time, new samples. It's a perfect way to learn, when you really learn something new, and then you try something to build something based on it and contribute this as a sample back. Even if it's something really easy, don't be shy. Maybe someone from the other part of the world is actually trying to learn from scratch, and will be looking for this really easy sample that starts the app and does the simple endpoint request to one graph endpoint, and that's all. and your sample will be perfect for this, right? So contributing samples is, I think it's one of the best way if you want to contribute with code. Of course, contributing to existing solutions that are working, like the CLI, like the technologies wide, like to the PnP partial, is also awesome. It's sometimes a bit harder, but always take a look and check the issue list, and there's always a good first issue label. So these are usually issues labeled in a kind of way that they are easy to start. And for sure, every maintainer will be more than happy to help you out to get started if you are new to this area. So don't worry at all. I try to contribute with a bit of blogging because I'm not good at it, but it's always a really also good example to learn. I think when you also try to explain a concept to someone else, and writing an article is actually this, that's when you go and do a deep dive of the thing you want to explain, and you try and you're looking at the details. So this is a really awesome thing. And also, I heard a bunch of times that am I going to write the same article? I already read the three articles that are actually the same. Don't do it. Write that fourth, that fifth, that sixth article about the same thing, because as it was already mentioned here, we are also trying to learn from each other experience and perspective. And so in someone's article, I'm not going to learn from your experience and your perspective. Maybe you learned something in a bit different way. Maybe you described something that's totally not mentioned in this article. So don't be shy and try to contribute as much as you can to give back, to help other people learn. And this is also the way you will learn. Yeah, I don't do movies. I don't do YouTube.
Awesome. Thanks very much.
Yes.
Agnes, I think we have like 5 minutes left. I want to give you, like a couple minutes, the same question, and then we'll turn it back over to Ayça and Waldek to close us out. How do you contribute back?
Yeah, so I'm almost the opposite as Adam. In the meaning of, I am not a developer anymore, so I don't contribute, sample codes and those kind of things. But I write. I started my blog. I think when the blog as a concept was very new. So I think in Hungary I was in the first 10 blogs. Back those days, I started it in Hungarian, then I realized that nobody read my blog in Hungarian, so I switched to English, which was definitely a good decision. But anyway, so I write a blog. I write different kinds of articles, ebooks, book chapters. So everything that is written is my thing. And the interesting thing is I'm an introvert, but the other thing I love doing is public speaking, just going to events, be on the stage and be in this totally shifted mindset, or I don't know what is that. That flow is just, it just cannot be anywhere else. So that's my other thing. Speak at conferences, do workshops.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I should do more YouTube videos. I have a YouTube channel. I do videos, but it's just not the same. So I have a couple of, toys and different teddy bears on my desk. So I try to talk to them when I do videos, but it's just not the same. But I should do that more. Yeah.
Everyone has their own style. Trust me. When I talk, I look outside to the trees and I see passersby and I talk to them as well too.
But it would be weird because the window is next to me, so it would be weird if I talk like this.
That's very true. That's very true. Look, listen, I want to make sure that Ayça and Waldek, and I know this was going to be not enough time, but I want to make sure they have time to hand back over. Thank you both, Agnes and Adam, for joining. Let me pivot it back over to Waldek and Ayça to close us out.
What an incredible closeout for us, for Hack Together, learning from the community and how you learn, how was their experience throughout the years. Thank you so much, Fabian, Adam, Agnes, for joining today. And Waldek and I, we want to close out Hack Together with this session as well. And before we close out, we want to address a couple of things. Of course, if you're the first timer watching this video, we had an incredible hack together in the past 15 days. If you're interested in checking out, go to our repo story and see what people did throughout the 15 days and take a look at their project. They're really inspirational, really exciting stuff going on in our repo. And I think registration link is not that valuable at this point, but maybe you submit the project and forget to register. That might be the value for you. We also have a feedback link, right, Waldek? We maybe it will be better to mention that too. So it will be aka.ms/hack-together/feedback. And finally, I want to highlight one thing. Waldek, when do we share the winners?
Again, it's going to be in another 15 days. So on March 30, the latest, you will hear whether you're the lucky winner or not.
Exactly. And don't forget, if you submit the project, you will receive the digital badge right away. So we will send you the digital badge, but if you are the winner, you should wait 2 weeks to hear about your prizes and everything. So, folks, that was all from us. It was a pleasure talking to you throughout in the past 15 days, and I hope to have something similar in the future too. Waldek, last words?
So long, and thanks for all the fish.
I knew it. Bye.
Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.